Hi, I'm Dr. Benjamin, and if you clicked on this video, chances are you already searched fatty liver before, you have probably already watched 2 or 3 other videos on this exact topic, and I want to be honest with you right away. Most of those videos leave out the part that actually matters, the part that tells you what is happening inside your body and what you can actually do about it, starting today. So stick with me for the next few minutes, because by the end of this, you are going to understand exactly why your liver is holding on to fat, how to spot it without ever stepping foot in a hospital, and the simple daily habits that can start turning this around faster than you think, especially if you are in your 50s, 60s, or 70s, and you have noticed your energy is not what it used to be, or your belly seems to be growing, even though the rest of you is not. Here's the problem. Most doctors will look at a fatty liver and just tell you to lose weight. And while that is not wrong exactly, it is incomplete advice. Because a fatty liver is not really a weight problem. It is a liver problem. And the liver behaves very differently than fat anywhere else in your body. It is actually one of the fastest organs to respond once you give it the right conditions, which is the encouraging part of all this. So let us talk about how this fat even gets there in the first place, because this is where almost everyone gets confused. Most people assume eating fat causes a fatty liver, but that is not really the main driver. The bigger culprit is a certain kind of sugar, and the tricky part is that your liver is basically the only organ built to process it. Every other sugar your body can spread out and burn through your muscles and your brain and your cells, everywhere. But this particular sugar goes straight to the liver, and only the liver. So if you are taking in a lot of it day after day, you're asking one single organ to deal with a workload it was never designed to carry alone. And over time, that turns into stored fat, and eventually inflammation, and eventually scarring if nothing changes. This is where it gets interesting. For decades, a lot of us were told to cut back on fat, told that bread and juice and cereal and pasta were the safer choice. And unfortunately, that advice pushed a lot of people toward the exact foods that overload the liver the most. So if you grew up eating that way, please do not be hard on yourself. You were following the advice you were given. We just know better now. Now, here is something most people never get told. You do not actually need an expensive scan to get a strong hint that your liver may be storing extra fat. There are visible clues your body gives you. So look at your belly first. If you are carrying extra weight, specifically around your midsection rather than evenly across your body, that is often fat spilling over from an overloaded liver. Next, check the back of your neck, and also your armpits and your groin area. If the skin there looks darker than the rest of you, or feels almost velvety or thickened, that is frequently a sign your insulin levels are running high. And small skin tags in those same areas can be another clue. None of these things are a diagnosis on their own, but together they are worth paying attention to. And the thread connecting almost all of them is insulin. Let me explain why insulin matters so much here. When the liver gets overloaded and a little damaged from constant sugar exposure, your body starts resisting the insulin your pancreas is producing. So your pancreas responds by making even more insulin to try to get the message through. And high insulin is basically a storage signal. It tells your body to hold on to fat, especially in the liver. So you end up in a frustrating cycle where the fatty liver drives up insulin, and the high insulin drives more fat storage in the liver. Round and round it goes until something interrupts the pattern. And the one coming up in just a moment is honestly the one that concerns me most for people watching this in their 50s and beyond, because a struggling liver rarely announces itself with obvious pain. Most people feel completely fine for years, right up until it starts affecting other systems. And here is the part that surprises people. When someone with a damaged liver eventually has a serious health event, it is usually not liver failure that gets them. It is a heart attack or a stroke, because the same inflammation quietly building in the liver is often building in the blood vessels at the same time. So taking care of your liver is really taking care of your whole circulatory system too. I like to think of your body a bit like a fish tank. You can buy the best fish food in the world. You can treat every little symptom you see in the water, but if the water itself is polluted, the fish are never going to thrive. And your body runs on a handful of these background signals, things like insulin, stress hormones, inflammation, sleep, and gut health. They all influence how you feel day to day, and usually one of them is more out of balance than the rest. Once you identify and correct that one signal, everything downstream tends to improve much faster. All right, let us get into what you can actually do, because this is the part you came for. The first and most powerful shift is cutting back sharply on refined carbohydrates, and especially anything with added sugar, particularly fruit juice and soda. These are loaded with the exact kind of sugar your liver struggles to process, and simply dialing this down is often the single biggest lever you can pull. You do not need to chase perfection here. Just aim to get it as low as realistically possible for you. The second thing, and this one surprises people, is egg yolks. Whole eggs actually contain a nutrient called choline that plays a direct role in helping your liver move fat out and process it more efficiently. So instead of just eating egg whites like a lot of us were taught for years, try having a few whole eggs as part of one solid meal. And if you want to take it further, some people find real benefit in eating just 2 meals a day instead of grazing constantly, giving your liver and your insulin levels a real break between meals. Third, coffee. Plain black coffee without the sugary syrups contains plant compounds that appear to support liver function and calm inflammation. You do not need 3 or 4 cups, even 1 cup a day, ideally organic since coffee crops are heavily sprayed, seems to offer a real benefit here. Just keep the sugar out of it. And fourth, and this one is almost too simple to believe, walking. A daily walk of around 20 minutes appears to improve how efficiently your liver processes fat, completely separate from whether you lose any weight at all. It is one of those rare pieces of advice that costs nothing, and almost anyone can do it, regardless of your current fitness level. Now, here is a fun little side note before we keep going. I always find it a bit funny that we will spend hours researching the healthiest fish oil supplement or the fanciest superfood powder, and meanwhile, the humble 20-minute walk sitting right outside our front door does more for our liver than half of what is sold to us in a bottle. So if that made you smile even a little, go ahead and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this video reach more people who need to hear it, and it takes you all of 1 second. But most people miss this next part, and it is honestly one of the biggest hidden mistakes I see. People assume that as long as something is labeled natural or comes from fruit, it cannot possibly be a problem. So they will cut out soda completely, feel proud of themselves, and then turn right around and drink 2 or 3 glasses of fruit juice or a large smoothie, thinking it is the healthy choice. But from your liver's point of view, concentrated fruit juice can be just as taxing as soda because you are getting all of that same sugar without the fiber that would normally slow it down. Whole fruit itself is generally fine in reasonable amounts because the fiber changes how your body absorbs it. But juiced and blended versions strip that protection away. So if you take one thing from this section, let it be this: drink your water, eat your fruit, and go easy on the juice. Here is another mistake that catches people off guard: snacking throughout the day, even on foods that seem reasonably healthy. Every single time you eat anything, your insulin rises to help handle it. And if you are someone who is sipping on something or nibbling every hour or 2 from morning until night, your insulin genuinely never gets a chance to come back down. It is a little like trying to let a room cool off while someone keeps opening the oven door. So simply narrowing your eating window, even just having your meals a bit closer together with real breaks in between, can make a meaningful difference for how your liver and your insulin behave over the course of a day. This is where it gets interesting again, because sleep plays a much bigger role in liver health than most people realize. When you consistently get poor or short sleep, your body produces more stress hormones, and those stress hormones actually push your blood sugar and insulin higher the very next day. So someone can be eating reasonably well and still struggle with stubborn belly fat simply because their sleep has been suffering for months or years. If that sounds like you, protecting even an extra 30 minutes of sleep a night, Keeping a consistent bedtime and dimming the lights an hour before bed can genuinely support everything else you are working on. And let us not forget alcohol, because even moderate, regular drinking places an extra burden on a liver that may already be struggling. Alcohol and excess sugar are processed through very similar pathways in the liver. So if your liver is already working overtime dealing with sugar, adding regular alcohol on top of that is asking even more of an organ that is already behind. This does not mean you need to eliminate it entirely, but being honest with yourself about how often and how much can be one of the more overlooked pieces of this whole picture. One more small but powerful habit worth mentioning is simply standing up and moving a little after meals. Even 5 or 10 minutes of light movement after eating, whether that is washing dishes, walking around the block, or tidying up the house, can measurably lower the blood sugar spike that follows a meal, which in turn means less pressure on your liver to deal with excess sugar all at once. It is a small thing, but small things done consistently over months add up to real change. Let us talk about how quickly you might notice something changing, because motivation matters. A lot of people who make these changes notice their waistlines start to shrink within just the first couple of weeks, sometimes sooner. And alongside that, a lot of people report their energy improving, their sleep getting a little deeper, and if they have been dealing with borderline high blood pressure or cholesterol, those numbers often start drifting in a friendlier direction too. None of this happens instantly, and everybody is a little different, but the liver genuinely is one of the more responsive organs in the entire body once you stop feeding the problem. One more thing worth mentioning. If you want a simple way to track your own progress without spending a dime on a scan, grab a tape measure and measure around your belly button. Write that number down today. Then check again in a few days, and again after about a week or two. Watching that number for yourself can be far more motivating than any doctor's report, because it is proof in your own hands that your body is responding. So let us bring this together. A fatty liver is driven mainly by excess sugar overwhelming your liver's capacity. It shows up in visible clues like belly fat, darkened velvety skin, and skin tags. It is deeply tied to insulin, and it quietly raises your risk for heart and blood vessel problems down the road. But the fix does not require some extreme overhaul of your life. Cutting back on sugary carbs, adding whole eggs back into your diet, enjoying a simple cup of black coffee, and taking a daily walk are 4 small, doable habits that genuinely move the needle. And here is my last little bit of humor for you. My own patients joke that I have never met a problem I did not try to fix with a walk and an egg. And honestly, at this point, I will take that reputation. If any part of this was new to you today, do me a favor and subscribe, because I put out videos like this regularly, breaking down exactly what is happening in your body and what you can actually do about it in plain, honest language. No confusing jargon, no scare tactics, just straightforward information. I would also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let me know what topic you would like me to cover next, whether that is blood sugar, cholesterol, joint pain, or anything else that has been on your mind. And I always encourage you to keep researching this on your own as well. The more you understand about your own body, the better decisions you can make for yourself. And one last important note before you go, everything in this video is general health information meant to help you understand your body a little better. It is not a diagnosis, and it is not personalized medical advice. So please talk with your own doctor before making any major changes, especially if you are managing any existing health conditions or taking medication. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.